meeting to order.
Thanks, Mayor. Oh, my coat.
Could we have adoption of the agenda?
I would like to make an addition to the agenda.
Okay, what's the agenda?
I was emailed last night by Passages asking me to write something in regards to the recommendation 14 and 13 out of the fiscal review, which is the ones concerning the villages, as you guys know. And I'm not too sure. I'd like to include probably the best source of information of where the province is coming from.
You really can't make a comment on it. It's just a draft. I want to hear from council on that. It's something that's only in draft form, and as a councillor, we haven't even made a group council decision. But I want to hear from everyone. Jimmy, what do you think?
Well, we could put it on for discussion on here, but I mean, as far as making independent, like we haven't finalized our comments to the UNSM on the fiscal review yet. So you're talking about the villages specifically, aren't you?
Yeah.
So
Could it be an information piece?
That's what I'm hoping for. What if I forward the information piece for the discussion document for the meeting on Wednesday, and they could put some of that in Passages as a
I don't know. Is that a
So what is it Passages is asking of you?
They want me to write something up about this, and where they can direct their outrage was the quote.
Passages can direct the road?
Outrage was the exact quote. It was only a two-line email that I got last night at 11:30 at night.
I would say,
I wouldn't think that you should be writing about this at all, to be
I
honest.
would
That's what I'm
suggest that they
saying.
wanted to.
We haven't received anything from the villages. I'm letting the villages decide, and council
Villages
hasn't
can
even
send it
got a
directly.
position. Pardon?
Villages can send that directly.
Yeah, the villages are going to be able to. Yeah, and actually, the villages I think if they haven't done it yet, they're going to be meeting themselves, like as a collective, to discuss this whole thing. So,
Yep.
I don't think it'd be appropriate, David, if you wrote anything on this right now.
So that was kind of what I was thinking, but I would like to supply some information.
So let's put it on.
Okay, George? I thought we could do it right now.
Oh, okay.
Along the same lines as David, Weymouth contacted me and was wondering what the council's take or position was on the villages thing. I have a meeting with them next month, so if we want to discuss it next week at bylaw or whatever.
Yeah, because
They just want to know what our position.
I'm going to say, right now, we haven't made a decision from council.
No council. Well, I knew that. That's why I didn't want to just, write anything. I didn't want it.
My understanding is that all councils were asked to answer the questions, and I think council looked at that on bylaw and policy as
Yes.
far as inputting.
Yes.
I don't know, they weren't looking, I don't know for any yay or nay from each unit.
We just made comment.
Just make comments on it, and then it goes back to the province.
There's a session coming up, is it not this week?
On the 26th.
Right, for the rural municipalities to have a discussion on villages. So
Teleconferencing.
it's a teleconference meeting,
It's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah.
and other than that, our council hasn't taken a stand one way or the other. We're not advocating that we take over all the villages. And we've never had that discussion. So
I would suggest that if they want an article is to call the province and get some comments from them on
that, or to tell them to call also the UNSM. So
And if they want to know what the villages think, they have to talk to the commissioners.
Well, yes,
Right.
I mean, we can.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't dictate one way or the other. It was a good thing to bring forward. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, me too.
But
I didn't
it's-
want to go off
Yeah.
at all.
I move the adoption of the agenda then.
So is this for the minutes,
Oh.
I guess? And Pat, is this an addition to the agenda that was talked about?
No, we just discussed it
we
before
haven't
we
started
began.
yet.
Sort of a friendly.
Sorry.
No addition to it.
No,
I got yellow banana.
just
I'll
say
second
this.
I'll second the motion to adopt.
The agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Pause to seek guidance, please. Okay, now we're going to have the reading of the mission statement. To provide, promote, or facilitate municipal services that meet the community needs while preserving, supporting, and enhancing quality of life for all. There is no presentations or delegations, so the approval of the minutes, the council minutes of October 27th, was there any errors or omissions?
No. Approve the minutes.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is under old business, business arising, recreation and youth mental health, John Roswell.
There he is.
Do we want to put this over to budget? Do we need more information?
This is pretty much the same presentation as before. Is that correct? The same request as before?
What this is, and what I included in the package is the original request that we received in May. And after that, we responded in that we had asked them to go to the province to see if this was something the province would fund. And since then, I guess the province has indicated that they consider this more of a local initiative, and they've come back to us now with their original request to help fund to in the amount of $15,000.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that we can't do right now. We have to wait for the budget process. Am I correct in that? So we just refer to the budget. Is there any additional information?
That's the question I'm asking with you.
Is there any additional
Well,
information?
other than the fact that I would be,
Council?
I'll invite it.
Okay, they're saying yes.
okay, I would, I guess I didn't say it in my email, but I think I can raise some of the money elsewhere if I can get an indication of council support for it. So I would reduce the request from 15 to 5,000 with the proviso council can, if you like, put the provision of your contribution last I raised the other $10,000. I think I could do that if I can get an indication from council that council is supportive of the program.
What's the pleasure?
Refer to our budget process, I would think.
I would think it has to go through a budget process in the spring.
Is the spring too late?
Well, to raise the rest of the money, we really should get the program going in early summer.
Yes.
You want to give me the...
That'd be time.
I'll wait till spring.
Yeah, that'd be time.
We can't tell you how much we can give you if we can give you any.
No.
So is someone making an motion?
I'd like to move this to the budget process.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. What will happen, John, we start getting our request now for next year, and we start working on it in the spring.
Yeah. I'm finding that with any government request, quite frankly. Nothing's going to happen last March.
We got last year's, we were working on last year's plan.
The other thing we're going to need is a more detailed budget
Yeah,
Business plan.
and business plan
yeah.
to go with us when we make our decision.
Yeah, with a specific ask, for sure.
Yeah, but we need a more detailed budget. and-
Yeah, I'll give you a breakdown.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Roswell.
The next is the UNS conference report, Councilors Manzers, Adams, and Tudor.
Okay, I'm going to start. I'm going to sort of go in the order of the agenda. So we had opening remarks from different people. We did not have the premier because, of course, he had a death in the family and he wasn't in the city. So Minister Fiore came and brought greetings from the premier. And then we went into, the first session was on shared services on Wednesday morning. And David's going to talk a little bit about that.
The Which one?
Shared services.
Okay, shared services. All right, I had a different one up. Yeah, the shared services were interesting. Of course, we had our own infamous Deputy Warden Jimmy McAlpine up there. There seemed to be two different ways to go. Another municipal unit was taking, the staff was making the decisions, absence of the politicians, which I personally didn't think had a lot to say to us, just because the way we've been going about it, with the politicians taking the lead, as all these problems that he foresaw by taking that route has not developed in our own experience of using, not going the staff route. I didn't really think that there was a great deal that was particular to us, other than, of course, what Jimmy McAlpine and the mayor were saying. I was very actually quite surprised at the tone of the CAO who was giving that presentation, as in the staff and not the politicians. Of the politicians would mess it up or cause additional problems. I like what we're doing, and I like how we're going about it, rather than just having a couple of CEOs meet in into a room, come to decisions. I was quite surprised. You got any thoughts on that?
No, just Jimmy's presentation was great. Jimmy and Ben's.
Thanks.
Good.
It was just so different than the other route.
They were three different perspectives, were they not?
The one on the, let's see here, give me a second. Bathroom? What was it here?
Come on.
Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, I would.
Jimmy?
The first presentation was done to talk about a program of sharing services with the technology, which
Diamond.
there was a group of 8 that got together, and so basically they were trying to. Stephen Feast was trying. He's the CAO for the town of Antigonish. His presentation was basically to try to talk about the successes of that area working together in that regard, and which was a positive thing, because in that area, to pull those units together to do that was probably a first. So, and then the second presentation was the CAOs from the town of Amherst and the Cumberland County, and Rennie Bugley and Greg Harrod. And I agree with you, like a comment that Rennie had made wasn't appropriate, because he basically was saying that the two CAOs would vet out what the shared services would be, and they would take it to their councils and tell them, okay, this is what we're going to do. No, that's not the way things are supposed to work. So I agree with you on that. I couldn't understand why he would say that, but he did. And
No, and I don't know if it's specifically because they were talking about administrative.
no, he said all shared services.
A whole
Yeah,
lot.
like the shared service that they were doing a presentation on, that was that was administrative, no ifs, ands, or buts. It was looking at sharing the financial departments from each municipality, putting it all into one. But he went though, and that was fine. But when he went to the next step, is where I think what David was referring to, and that's where he said, basically they would vet out all shared services opportunities between the two CAOs and then take them to their council. So there was no direct, like it wasn't like the council was bringing to the administration what they'd like to see them work on. It was the other way around. And so, but I thought overall, we get along great with the town, and I mean, and we're doing a lot with the town, and so it wasn't hard to get up there and talk about it. So.
Yeah, the Diamond one, maybe the gist is they avail themselves to economy of scales and those things that lend it to that. So,
Yeah.
1,000 people buy something, they get a better deal than 10, which I think is pretty common sense. We did something similar ourselves with the software, so that was pretty non-controversial. I would certainly think, but I did find the one that Jimmy did quite controversial. It just seemed like such a far cry from how we conduct ourselves. And the attitude, I was quite surprised at being so different than what our culture would be, for example, in those situations. But of course, they're dealing with something different, right? Different set of players.
Okay, moving along. You're on again.
Oh, I'm on again. Which one is this? Prosperity without growth?
No, bloody meetings.
Okay, wait, I got it here somewhere.
I'll start a little bit if you
All
want.
right, yeah, I just had it up.
So we went to this presentation on bloody meetings, and it was Bernie White, who's a registered parliamentarian. And so he talked about different kinds of meetings and different kinds of characters that you have at a meeting, how to keep meetings under control. He'll tell you a little bit about the different kinds of people that you could find. And interesting was there were 2 or 3 books that are referred to, which we may have here, but there was a shortened version of Robert's Rules.
We
There
have a
was,
condensed, so we did have.
Meetings for Dummies, and one of those ones with a yellow cover on. And then, I can't remember what the third one was, but it was about meetings. And,
With the books, you mean that there were
the 3 books that he...
the 101 problems in board meetings.
yeah, something like that. Anyway, go ahead. You can say-
Meetings, bloody meetings. I got kind of a kick out of this one. Of course, I'm sitting next to Maritza. And as we went through, I was like, ooh, I do that one. Oh, I do that one. Yep, that's me. And so for my own personal improvement, I think that was probably the most important one I've ever sat in. I definitely got a kick out of it. I don't think I do anything too crazily, but definitely I had something to learn on the way to do it. There were certain things that we don't have a lot of, like, for example, like a vocal minorities, yelling, hollering, things like that, a certain individual dominating, all those sorts of things I think we're quite good with. Well, not to say that I won't get ranting once in a while. You may have seen that, maybe, I don't know if you have or not, but you may have noticed. The one that particularly rang true for me is green bananas. Green bananas is when you come up to a meeting with something with not enough background done yet. You got the vision, but you haven't got the nitty gritty. And I was kind of just something about calling it green bananas. It really rang in my head, and it was something I really thought of. And I had recent examples with my dealings with the council of grabbing a bunch of green bananas and trying to shove it into everybody's mouths, but nobody wants to eat a green banana. So that's one. Like, for example, I've taken that to account. Like, there's the mental health thing I've been working on, and I've been talking to a bunch of people, finding as much information I can before I plop it on the table and discuss it, say, at the budget process. I want, by the time it gets to us, it's ready to go. So that's something that I felt made a difference. And then, of course, the top of the 3 just people, different types of people, those who make things happen, those who ask what just happened, and those that watch things happen. And I think that we've got a bunch of people that make things happen. I think that people, as time goes on, I see people get better, working with each other, better at the process, better at responding to the constituents. I see things improving. I don't see much what just happened at all. People really do, we become prepared to our meetings. So I find that portion is something that is not something that we have to be deeply concerned on.
He talked about the fact that if you come to a meeting and you watch one of your counselors open his envelope at the meeting, that's how well prepared they are.
Yeah, they're reading it now.
Yeah, and the other thing he talked about was safety, because there are sometimes concerns or issues where the safety of the counselors in the council chamber. Some people have a room where they can take the counselors to very quickly if anything happens. He talked about having police presence at one point at some meeting that was very controversial. So it was very interesting. You have heard that one. Is that the
So
one
he
you
gave
heard?
the presentation to the AMA.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was very good.
Yeah,
And he had
he's
lots of
excellent.
jokes in between. It was lighthearted, but it had a lot of meat to it.
He's a good speaker. Yeah.
He was a very good speaker. Yeah, he was he was the parliamentarian during resolutions, right?
Bernie did it?
Yeah.
Bernie's good.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, one of the things I thought was interesting is discussion of use of in-camera. Having in-cameras exclusively just because you don't want anyone to hear what you're saying, rather than it being something that has legal ramifications if it's public. I haven't seen anything along those lines with us. They were talking about a lot of stuff that can lead to aggression or problems with meetings, amalgamations, and boundary views. If you go through the list, all of it like sure, some shared service agreements are a little tough, like fire departments and things like that, just the nature of it. But I don't see the aggression being, or the bullying, or any of that going on. So I certainly hope not. And one thing I found interesting was people trying to move things for so they can be in the media. Like it was so-and-so's motion, is Bob's motion, and so-and-so seconded it, and they talk about that being something that's a problem. I've always thought seconding and moving things was a way to move the meeting along. I never knew that there would be people fighting over who gets to move stuff and try to take credit and things like that. I always just thought it was like, okay, let's get out of here before 11 o'clock. So it's sort of interesting that little light into how some things that you wouldn't even occur to you could be a big disruption could turn into a big disruption.
Okay, thanks. So moving along, we then had Mayor Savage speak a little bit about Hometown Champions campaign, and on Thursday afternoon, we also had our FCM president, Mayor Brad Woodside from Fredericton, speak about the federal election 2015. So they're both tied into the thing about where we have to become champions. We have to bring all our issues and concerns that are part of our municipality and make sure that each of the people who are representing or running during the federal election are aware of our concerns, and hopefully we'll make those concerns part of their campaign. And they're really pushing this for the election. Brad was pretty vocal. He's a great speaker, so it's always good to listen to, just so that we'll be ready when the election comes along. I'm just putting it in a nutshell, but that's pretty well what it was about. Then we had the role of municipalities in immigration, and we had Jerry Mills, who's Director of Operation for ISIS, which they are going to change their name.
They already changed it.
I know, they were going to. So that was Immigrant Settlement and Integration Services, and it's been that for years and years and years, but of course now that's not a good thing. They talked on the federal and provincial roles in immigration and the current challenges. And the second part focused on how municipalities can become welcoming communities, which we've been talking about through our shared services. We were hoping the Board of Trade would take that on, a welcoming committee. If you don't make them welcome in your communities, they're not going to stay. And in the One Nova Scotia report or the Ivany report, that's pretty obvious when you look at out-migration of, even immigrants come here for a very short period of time and then they move elsewhere. They move to a city where they have more people from their own culture, or they're moving to where there are jobs. And we know all this. We know the stories about taxi drivers who are doctors, that kind of thing. People that are having a hard time getting certified here because the government's making it impossible for them to do so. People coming from England or other places, they go to Newfoundland because Newfoundland is more welcoming, and then they end up here, like Dr. Westby did. So it was an interesting presentation, but we're looking at all of that right now. So I thought it was good. All right, moving along.
So though, I would
Yeah, you go ahead.
There was one thing was how say 5 people from the community can get together and sponsor a person to come, like a church group or a business association, and I found that something particularly interesting. It's something I might want to look at and maybe talk with some of the local churches in regards to.
And I have a copy of the presentation, so I'll send it around, and if you want to look at it, I'll leave it in the boardroom of what we talked about on the immigration one from ISIS. Okay, then on Thursday morning, we had a keynote address from Mr. Dan Christmas. He's a senior advisor for the community of Membertou. Last year, we had Ray Ivany at UNSM, and the report hadn't officially come out yet, so we sort of could only touch on it a little bit. But Mr. Christmas actually was on the board. Yep, he sat on the commission. So Ray Ivany, Irene D'Entremont, Dan Christmas, Susanna Fuller, and John Bragg were on the commission. They looked at population economic challenges, focus on youth out-migration, which is something that we're certainly very interested in here. I'll give you some stats. Now or never, the vision goals and the game changers, seeing the future in a different light. And then at the end, he had a few minutes left, so he did talk a little bit about Membertou and I'll talk about that in a minute, how Membertou turned themselves around. So he gave us a timeline. He talked about you've all had a chance to look at the Ivany report, I hope. If you haven't read it all, you've certainly read parts of it. They had community meetings, citizens joined the sessions, they had meetings with municipal leaders, First Nations, provincial, federal governments, business leaders, community organizations. They had phone surveys, they had online surveys, and they had some presentations by commissioners and staff. Had lots of public engagement on the website. Okay, so they talked about the population change and the labor supply change. I'll leave all these charts for you, but we're considered part of the Southwest, and so 2009 to 2034, this is what they're predicting. Okay, so 20 years or less, minus 37% for the Southwest. We're going to go down 37% of our population. 9% under 20 years old. Between 20 and 64, 9%, 64 years plus 40%, and that's, you can read lots into that. Economic growth, they talked about unemployment rate in the economic regions, so Southwest. And the other interesting was the profile of Nova Scotia's interprovincial out-migrants. So the average from 2006 to 2010, it's sort of interesting to see. The largest is between ages of 19 to, I'm going to say 34, out migrating.
Thank you.
So they're going out west, yes. Yes,
I was asking.
go ahead.
The figures that you're using there, is that based on the economy staying the way it is now? Or they haven't looked at any opportunities for growth for the economy?
They have looked for opportunities for growth. I think this is the information that they've, I think, gathered from the commission in the
If we
meeting.
continue along the road we're going, this is what's
What
going
could
to
happen.
Yeah, I know. I guess that's what I'm saying, though. They're not accounting for the potential for the tidal development in the Bay of Fundy and the opportunities that may have on Western Nova Scotia for job growth based on those numbers.
I think the particular charts Councillor Adams is speaking to is that if we continue along this road, he talked about almost like going towards a cliff.
Yeah,
that
we're
if we
gonna
don't,
fall off.
stop, and it's going to take a while to turn around.
Oh,
from
for
that
sure. I don't disagree with
5
that.
10 years.
We've already, it's been a noted fact that for the last 20 plus years, we've been losing 1% of our population every year. So I can see how that trend could continue, but I'm really hopeful and optimistic that if the title industry takes off the way I'm hoping it does, that we can change those numbers around and go the other way.
He was a good speaker. And then he talked a little bit about Member 2 and how 25 years ago they were sort of on the brink of nothing. And, they were poor, they didn't have any money. Member 2, yeah. And how they turned it around, and now they have, the hotel, they have the convention center, they have a gaming center, they have a garage there, and they have lots of new homes and everything like that, and they've improved the life for their reserve. And
It provided employment opportunities for the rest of Sydney.
yeah.
They employ all kinds of people now in the town itself, which is an amazing turnaround considering that they were originally fenced in on a swamp. They used to be alongside the river. The government claimed that they were spreading disease, so they could take the land, give it to somebody else, and they actually fenced off an area and stuck them there. It's actually one of a real hard luck story, the history behind Member 2. It's quite amazing that it reached such a poor state, and then they were able to turn it around. Certainly some lessons for us as well there.
Yeah, but the only reason why they were able to turn it around was because of people like Dan Christmas and showing the leadership. Mm-hmm. Because it took a few individuals to make it happen, but other than that, that's really made the difference up there.
Yeah, good lesson for us as well.
So I ran a few sheets at the end of it when about his talking about Member 2 and things like that, what they've done and how they've tried to look at their youth and what they're trying to do they've started up businesses and things like that. Okay, so we then had putting waste in its place, challenges, changes, and innovation. Jeff McCollum, the CEO of RRFB, Nova Scotia, was pretty straightforward. The things that they're doing, they're looking at reducing waste and the ways they're doing that. And it was very good. He was very good. He was only spoke for about a half an hour. So if anybody wants to jump in with anything that they...
The waste, was that waste?
Yes, the waste, the gentleman from the waste check, well, not waste check, but from the waste provincial RFB. Okay, moving along. All right, resolutions. I'm not going to read them all. I'm going to highlight a couple that I thought you might be interested in. If you have any questions about any of the ones that you were thinking about, I will try to answer those. So, the first one.
Which ones affected us?
Oh,
Like anything that affected us, like affect rurals?
well, yeah, so like the first one, compensating low-income families and individuals for food replacement costs due to power outages. So when we had Arthur and any of the other storms, and we had people lost everything in their deep freezes and things like that, so they brought forth a resolution to see if they could get that. That got carried, although it was recommended. That one was recommended. Yep, that was okay. Yeah, a provincial dialogue on poverty in rural settings. That was carried.
And yet, they're gonna put the tax back on diapers and heating
Yeah,
charges.
that's since then, though.
Tax
That's
break.
since then. There was anyway, I'm not going to go through them all because there's just too many of them. But Resolution 6A, increasing access to community energy data. The town of Bridgewater brought that forth, and it was defeated, just to let you know.
Community energy data.
They want to have, I think what the bottom line for that was they wanted information on,
Yeah, I think they
Energy.
want to be able to access a central database somewhere on energy and stuff.
and they didn't want,
Like,
didn't think they'd be able to do that.
Have it in one place like in Halifax where anybody that wanted to do something with energy or they could access, not what information they would have on that database, but something to do, all that kind of energy information.
What would be the purpose of that, though?
I'm not sure, Jim.
I mean, like,
I'll let you read that after.
yeah.
Yeah, that's 6A. One of the other ones that I thought might be interested is federal funding for affordable housing. That was brought forth by the HRM, and it was carried. And they're saying affordable housing is an integral part of building an accessible, welcoming community that attracts people, and so on and so on. So that one was
And also the amount of money it saves social services is out of this world when you compare it to the actual cost of the housing. It's just, the comparison of the numbers is unbelievable.
So the next one was the controversial one. Department of Health and Wellness, Resolution 10A, hospital parking fees.
yeah,
We
that's
had a
controversial.
long discussion on that one. We had people that Shelburne brought it forth, or Barrington, sorry. We had supported that, and people from the city got up and said there was no way they were going to have that they were for it because they would go to the hospital, the QE2, they'd park in the parking lot, and then they go off shopping because they were going to charge a lot less than they were at the moment. Right now, theirs is like the most expensive, and I think you pay by the hour, do you not?
Yes.
You do.
Right. So people were going like,
To a max.
so what do they think, $4 for the whole day? That's cheap compared to what they have
Except
to pay there.
if you go in and
So
out.
they were very, very vocal, and they swayed the audience, and they took the vote, and they said, well,
Three
took the
times.
vote, and they
At
weren't
least three
sure.
times, at least
Yeah,
three
at least
times.
3 times. They took the vote, they asked us to stand, because they couldn't count, so they stand, blah, blah, blah. Second time, and then the third time, the guy came back from Barrington, he said, I would like to have the actual numbers, because he said, I counted, and I thought it was quite close, in fact, maybe even a tie, but the numbers were 73 to defeat it, to 56.
Yeah, 56.
So-
It didn't look 73 to 56
No,
to
it
me.
didn't. It
No,
looked
no,
pretty
I thought it was
close.
pretty
So
close,
it was
yeah.
fairly controversial for that reason. And a lot of people got up and said the things that I said here and that we said about the fact that, it's fixed income people, seniors, who are going to the
As long as
park.
they realize people collapse because they can't make it to the mall.
Right. And then somebody got up and said there's one hospital that has no parking fees. So I said, where is that? It was Alex Morrison who got up and said it. So I said, Alex, where
Where?
is it? Annapolis.
No, they have parking fees.
We said they had a sign that says some of the parking fees go towards
Oh, is that what he said?
buying equipment or
Oh,
supporting the
yes, right.
hospital foundation or.
There's none of it goes to
Because
the
there was
health
discussion
foundation.
around that the money
No,
that
but
was...
to equipment or.
No, it goes into
General coffers.
general revenue.
Or
Yeah.
it says that, but it does say, because some people said, well, where is it? He said, we have a sign
That
that
was the other
says where the
discussion.
money
Where's
goes.
that money
It goes to
going?
general revenues.
So maybe it goes into general revenue.
We've all been emailed that when we were told, and we were told when they had to make more money, they had to raise the parking price to staff and the cafeteria prices to us. because it was a way for them to make money to help towards offsetting in the general.
He did say their sign said that, something about where the money goes.
But most of the time, it's not.
But it doesn't go to the foundation, nothing goes to the foundation.
That's what they said, though. And I didn't think that was true, but
And I would want to see the sign because it's, you know, I mean, they're in the process right now of their cuts with hiring, as I said, the 8 VPs for the 4 zones. They need 8 VPs and 8 administrative assistants for 4 zones in the province. That's our cutbacks, guys.
Yeah, I know. Okay, moving along, Resolution 11A, Department of Municipal Affairs, Amendment to the Municipal Government Act, Taxation and Sale of Municipally Owned Properties. That was brought forth by the town of Yarmouth, and it was recommended by the resolution, the resolution committee did not recommend this resolution, but it was carried. They went against the committee. There was quite a bit of discussion about that. And we know where they're coming from. If they get buildings, schools, and those kinds of things, and they have to take care of them. Resolution 12A, dangerous and unsightly premises with absentee landowners, was brought forward by the County of Richmond, and the committee did not recommend this resolution, but it did pass. So I thought that was sort of one interesting for us as well, absentee landlords. And the gas tax funding by the town of Windsor was withdrawn, so we didn't vote on that one. And the resolutions B and C, I wasn't there for the last few minutes, so I missed those, but the one was that HRM charter review, so I'm pretty sure that one passed because they were bringing that forth.
What were they asking for?
They were changing something, weren't they?
Well, through the House, they were supposed to be making quite a few changes to the
Yeah,
charter.
didn't they pass that?
I think so.
The House passed it, yeah. Anyway, you can read that. Now, which one's the one you wanted to read on 6A here? So, I have to do that later because I need that to, no.
I would like to talk
I
about
need
a couple of the Cracker Barrel sessions.
You can have it after, yeah. Yeah. Okay, any questions, any resolutions that you're interested in that I didn't mention? I don't want to go through them all, but, yes.
Jimmy?
Not a question, but a comment. Like, it sounds like a lot of resolutions passed.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens is that the UNSM can only do so much work. I mean, the staffing can only do so much. So they'll prioritize those resolutions at the board, and then they'll work on those, and if they have the time to get to the other ones, they will. But what they will do is they'll send letters to the different government departments pertaining to each one, and hopefully get comments back from those departments. But I think, you know, like, when there's 30 or 40 resolutions there, like, that's trying to say that's your work. And I mean, this gives direction to the board on what they do for the upcoming year, but they do have to prioritize what they're going to work on.
Okay, so moving along, we then had our annual general meeting. Oh, and Wednesday night we had Rural Caucus. And part of the agenda of the Rural Caucus was the gentleman that we were just talking about. Get his name again.
Who the chaired it?
The one that was with you. Oh, that was Wednesday, wasn't it? Shared services. Where did I miss that? Anyway, the CAO for Cumberland.
Oh, Rennie Bugley.
Yeah. No? Was that him? Yes. Anyway, I'm going to pass it around because I ran it off. He kind of took over the Rural Caucus, and it went on for, I'd have to say, over half an hour. He's talking about absorbing Spring Hill into Cumberland and all the things, and I ran it off because I thought it was sort of interesting. But because of that, we didn't finish the agenda for Rural Caucus. We didn't get anything done.
Oh,
It was like,
that's
that sort of overtook everything, didn't it?
Yep.
And I was a little disappointed. I kind of thought he could have done it in a shorter period of time, or only just highlighted. But he went on about everything that was going to happen and how it was happening in the process and whatever. So we ended up having part of our Rural Caucus Friday morning. Was it? We did go back to the agenda, but not very much of it. We didn't get much of it done. That's why we had the talk about the villages came up again, and that's why they decided to have the teleconference, because there wasn't any time, because we had Mark Fury coming. So Friday morning, of course, we know the ministers' panel was canceled because of the fact they had to be in the House. So Mark Fury came, he did speak, and for about 45 minutes, but he was on a time crunch, like he had to be out of the door, so there were no questions or anything like that. But that was it. I thought it was a great conference. There was lots of interesting things, and I think we all got to see different sections of it. Do you have any questions?
Jimmy?
I won't answer.
I have a question, but it's not pertaining to that so much, but something that was just said, like about the rural caucus meeting. When was the last time there was a rural caucus meeting?
A year ago.
Right.
A year.
Is that in Yarmouth? Is that the one in Yarmouth?
No, but like they're
That's
supposed
our
to be
lovely
held.
chair, who got rebooked, who got
Re-elected.
re-back.
I know Bob Taylor,
Yeah.
but
And the vice chair.
I guess where I'm coming from is that, you know, it sounds like there's business that the rural municipalities need to address. They're not. It's not being done,
Right.
and we may want to write a letter to the caucus chair to ask if we can have designated times for meetings throughout the year. And I had mentioned this to Keith Hunter, and that is that it would be good to have these meetings so that anybody that's in a rural municipality could participate by teleconference, so that you know, not everybody can attend, but some people could attend, and that's what the towns do. The town caucus has people given the opportunity to phone in, and they may get 40 people face to face, and another 90 people may come in by phone, and so they have a really good participation at their meetings. And so
Are you making that a motion?
I'll make it a motion, yes.
I'll
That we,
second that, so I can get my name in the newspaper.
The motion
motion's
is
to
that we
write-
write, oh, sorry, go ahead.
the motion's going to be to write the rural caucus chair to ask for timelines for rural caucus meetings for the upcoming year. And also, second to that is to ask if it's possible to have it set up similar to the town's caucus, where the meetings could be also be done by teleconference, where
Participate remotely.
you can participate remotely, yes, by teleconference.
And I think when I first became a counselor, that group was meeting on a fairly regular basis, if I remember correctly.
4
We
times
used
a
to.
year.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything like that.
No, it hasn't
Yeah, but
been
it's
lately.
It's usually the warden or the deputy.
Yeah.
I like to
Okay.
see, I like to see that if people want to attend, anyone from the rural
Should be able
municipality
to.
should be allowed to attend.
Maybe that's-
I think it's dumb.
Well, and a lot of times when they do have these meetings, they have them in rooms where you couldn't put more than 40 people
Well,
in it.
no.
That was how it was in Yarmouth. You couldn't have squeezed anyone else in there, I don't think.
No.
But I think they should open it up.
I think by phone would help, or
Yeah.
whichever. All in favor, sorry,
Nope.
all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you for the update.
I would like
thought
to
you-
talk about a couple of things I was asked to talk about.
Okay, just a
Yeah.
second. I was going to say, I thought you've done an excellent job so far. Now, go ahead.
What would you like to talk about then?
Well, the
Yes.
two things. The erosion, just to make a statement.
Oh, you didn't do the Crackle Barrel ones.
Yeah, I want to talk about those two.
Sorry, I did miss something. They didn't do the Crackle Barrel ones. So David did.
Erosion and rural poverty.
Yep.
For the erosion, the most interesting thing I found is that they have almost no information on anything, and they only have a couple of guys, and it just seems like they're so far behind. There's so much for them to deal with. Is that why even have a couple guys? He was saying that even getting they don't have the information right off. And they don't have the manpower to even go over the information that they have. And it wasn't something that really filled me with confidence, to say the least. Some of the, our climate change plan, it seemed like some of the councils were taking a more expansive view of it rather than just upon municipal infrastructure. And we're trying to expand that. And that was something that I thought was interesting, and I wouldn't mind ourselves to do. We all know how that worked out earlier. Also, the rural poverty. A lot of the stuff was very similar to what we were doing. Public transportation, but one thing's different. I like how we do it though. For the if you're have the low income exemption for the property tax. They have a self-decline, Chemfeld does, checkbox that you can say you make under X amount of dollars, sans any sort of documentation of your income. And I prefer our way. We have documentation. Maybe it has to do with the sheer number of people up there, but it's just a box you check and you get it automatically. I prefer our way on that. Of course, and then interestingly, they discussed PACE as PACE, P-A-C-E, where you upgrade a house so it's more energy efficient.
Okay.
And they pay on their property. We chatted about this as something I've been glancing at here and there. There's a few places in the province that have done it, and I'm going to get the copies of how they did it, and hopefully, we'll discuss it here at some point. But I just never thought of it specifically as something to alleviate poverty. I was thinking of it more of something to spur economic development for potential for title and construction, doing it and all that sort of thing. Yeah, so just making your house more efficient, of course it saves you money. Of course it saves you heat. Of course it makes things easier if you're an older person and you have a heat pump rather than a wood stove. And I just found that quite an interesting spot to slide PACE in, poverty reduction. And I just wanted to bring that up. It wasn't something I had thought of, and of course because of the financing being attached to the property rather than the individual, it becomes more accessible for those who don't have a lot of money. So I just thought it was something that threw me off a bit. That PACE was there. We down in my district, we do another bunch of stuff for poverty that's not included. So I did like that part where, what do you do? We're talking about the wood. I dropped off wood for a friend. Stuff like the wood and helping people find jobs, and, those sorts of things. They didn't really talk about the role of the individual counselor, rather the role of government and programs, which is a little different than how I think of it. Of course, I'm very fortunate to have a population that is manageable. And still do that.
I think George was supposed to speak on that one. So
Was
if you
he?
got anything else to say?
No, I got that written down. Name two for next to it.
Do you have anything else to add?
I don't think that any of the areas were doing any more than we were doing. I know, like we do with the King's Transit, Christmas time for a week or 2 weeks or whatever before Christmas about the free bus rides, and then during the summer for the festivals. And the free things that we offer at the rec for the kids, for the children, whether it's skating, pond hockey, and there's many other ones I can't think of them right offhand, but a lot of things going on at the rec place are for free for a lot of the families. So I didn't think anybody was doing anything more or better than we were. It was just maybe a few different things.
And you were going to do the one on prosperity without growth?
Yeah, that's guy from Annapolis.
Gregory Hemme.
Championing this prosperity without growth thing, and myself, I don't think it can happen. So, kind of didn't really, pay a lot of attention to him, I guess. And, he's kind of pie in the sky. You can, you can buy local, keep the money in the area, but that's not possible. Be self-sustaining for every community. So I just kind of thought it was not logical.
Do you have anything else to add to any of the other ones that you went to that wasn't mentioned?
Went to the Bloody Meetings one, which
Yeah.
was good.
Did you think of me when you're...
No, I thought the
good?
most important thing was to be, when you talk about being prepared for a meeting. You said
Yeah.
if you're not prepared, especially if you're the chair, be prepared.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. You want to talk?
Yeah, the one on prosperity without growth. I just want to say it reminded me of a combination of North Korean juche. There's an economic system where you prepare everything within your confines of your borders. You're completely self-reliant. And the Paris Collective from the turn of the century. Something along those lines. It was quite unusual economic thought behind this. Very, very unusual. I've always read a lot of economics in the years. I gave them a couple of suggestions. One was the one that came out for our little sessions in the islands in regards to closed restaurants, that the kitchens are available if people want it. A legal kitchen is available if you want to prepare foodstuffs for resale, so you don't have to make a huge outlay of capital for the off-season. There's already empty kitchens. And the other one was a lending library of objects. Those are the two things I could really think of. He spoke largely absent of specific examples. Like there was a lot of reasoning. 39, I think he said, or 62, some extravagant number of meetings with the community. But I was surprised at how few specific examples. Like it sounds very nice, but it's definitely going to take some effort, and I don't see how you're going to get very far without specifics, and also without a budget stream or something to pay for it. This is not good, even if it was heavy motivation. It's not something you just throw together.
Thank you. Brown nosing.
Okay,
No, that's not brown nose.
thank you. We will now go on to new business. Brianne Jordan requests for sponsorship. As you can see, she's at St. FX. She is looking for help. I do not believe this goes with policy, but I will check with the CAO.
It doesn't fall, the request doesn't fall within the guidelines or the objectives of our youth grant policy, where it's not a school-related function.
No.
So it's someone,
I don't support this, and I'd like for a letter to be written to her to say that this is not within our mandate to fund.
is there a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that for sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the Digby Clare Energy Audit, and there is a sample template, assessment motion.
I'll find it. Find it here.
It's in your web, on your web. So, would someone like to so move?
I'd like to move that. I'm trying to
And
find it so I could read
It's right
it.
after Brianne's letter.
That the municipality of the District of Digby, along with the municipality of District of Clare and the town of Digby, proceed with the establishment of the Digby Clare Energy Authority, the DCEA, in order to identify its mandate, proposed scope of business, and prepare a business plan with detailed expenditures and revenue estimates, and that such findings be used to determine the implementation of the business plan. The cost of this will not exceed the amount remaining from funding secured through municipal units and a COA for the project titled Establishment of the Digby Community Energy Trust. Is that what I heard you say, Jimmy?
And I move that.
Thank you.
I'll
You've
second.
all heard the motion, it's been seconded.
I'd like to talk about it for a minute.
Okay, go right
Is
ahead.
this the exact same motion that'll be made by Claire? Don't
They've
they have a
already,
couple?
they've already
We've already
passed
done
it.
I thought they had a couple quotes.
No, it's all done.
Passed unanimously.
Okay, so there was no, we can opt out at any time or anything like that in it?
This was passed unanimously.
Okay, wonderful, because I'd heard some gossip that maybe it wasn't right there. Excellent. Good.
Any other comment?
I'm surprised it passed unanimously.
This was something my stomach was hurting about a bit.
From the meeting last week down there, I was,
It didn't go over well, did it?
well, not at the meeting, but I suppose maybe they've talked since then.
Okay.
I think
Anything's
mainly
possible.
it was their lawyer that asked a lot of direct questions, and I don't think he was up to speed on it personally. And actually last week when we talked to the warden of Clare, like they were having the meeting that night, and I think he felt that it would pass, and he sent out an email later that night to say it passed unanimously. So
My favorite email I've gotten in the last 6 months is that email.
Okay.
question,
Oh, sorry, yes?
a question
Oh,
on the motion.
question. Sorry, question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the FCM Hometown Proud campaign. The FCM sent, they're running a campaign. It can be individual, but you could win 2 tickets to bring loved ones home, but I thought, God forbid, but I think we're ideas, that it would be nice as our council sent in a few pictures of what we're hometown proud of, like our award, pictures of some energy things we're doing. And I didn't know who should do that, but I would want to see what council thought and what Linda thought of what staff member could help send some pictures in.
I'd love a picture of the world's greatest sign down at Ballast Rock in the parking lot and how it's been built up. It looks quite nice.
I just think it would be nice. I think we should be proud of our community.
Oh, for sure.
Were there pictures taken during the youth engagement?
Yes, there was.
It would be nice for that, to see that we're looking, reaching out
So-
to.
Register, tweet, and can you just send in photos? Or?
The way it
That's
says
what it
it, it's the way it's register for the campaign, tweet about the campaign. The campaign is we're proud of Digby municipality. Make sure you use the tools provided.
Between Rob and I, we can.
Yeah, get together some pictures.
Yeah, anyway. All right, thank you. The next is the Chief Administrator's Officer's Report. As you noticed, December the 1st, we have a bylaw and policy. December the 8th, we have committee of the whole. December 15th, bylaw and policy. I thought December 1st we weren't having a meeting.
No, 15th, I thought.
I had originally
15th,
thought
that's it.
December 15th, but I think we have enough for in the meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
I had no meeting marked down, and I saw on your report we had a meeting.
Yeah, because I didn't have the.
There's a originally, that was
Yeah.
as of
Okay.
a certain date, but since then, there's been a few items that come forward, and we actually have someone who wants to make a presentation.
I knew there was one of the dates that I had now, that's why.
Okay.
All right, December 22nd, 29th, no meeting, January 5th, no meeting, January 12th, committee of the whole. As you went through her report, was there any questions or concerns?
I have a question.
Yes?
Any more word from DOT yet, from the crosswalk?
I had sent an email to Jeremy Kelland on Friday, asking for an update as we would be meeting tonight, and I didn't get anything back.
There's
So
a lot
there's
of people
still-
asking.
Oh, I know, it's ridiculous, the
Well-
amount of time it's taken for them to, and they say they've ordered the light, it was like a 6-week delivery, but it's been much longer than 6 weeks, so.
My concern is they shouldn't even have put the crosswalk in until they were ready to complete it, because
dangerous,
it's
eh?
dangerous the way it is right now.
And I expressed that as well, and to the fact that the crosswalk's there with no light.
Yeah, I mean, there's no lighting at all right there at nighttime.
No.
There's no street light there right underneath that area.
No, there's
And-
not a light, there's nothing.
No, it's dangerous, and
There should be a street light there.
I'd like that for one.
they should be able to come in and with some temporary flashing amber lights or something. Just even if they put it on the post where it's saying that there's a crosswalk ahead, just to try to grab people's attention, because the way it is right now, I'm afraid someone's going to get hurt, and I'm very disappointed that they put that crosswalk in without having a plan as to when they were going to have the whole thing done.
Yeah, I've had some people ask, why would we do something that stupid?
Well, it does look kind of,
Yeah.
they could have held
Not
off,
good.
and they have signs over everything until you're ready to go, right?
Well, they didn't have to put the lines in
Yeah.
or nothing until
do it all at
everything
once.
was there. They should have put, actually, the big piece, they should have put the poles up and the crosswalk sign up first and then did the rest of it. But anyway, that is an issue that I see as
Big
being very
issue.
dangerous, so.
And it's being talked about well at Tim Hortons,
Mhm.
so you know.
Tell everybody to call transportation. But I don't think it's, I think it has to do with the availability of whatever the lighting is.
Yeah,
in
but
Quebec.
Department of Transportation's got to take some responsibility
Oh, I
because they're the
know.
ones that have done the work to date. And if they knew that it was going to take 6 weeks to get that to get the supplies here, they should never have put those lines in.
Timing, yeah.
And it's very poor on their part.
Any other
What are we
comment?
doing?
Oh,
Well,
Can we write a letter?
she's been in
I've
contact
been in
with them.
contact with
so-
every day, like
Yeah.
every week, so. And I'll continue to nag them.
Street lights are still ongoing, still working?
Terry has sent off a letter, which he CC'd me, because I'm getting a lot of complaints and concerns, and I have not got an email back, or neither has Terry yet, from the gentleman that we called. We had a meeting with him during the UNSM, during the ICOE, and he was explaining what had been happening, and NSPI has put up a lot of barriers and made some difficulties.
So are they presently working or not?
They were anticipated that they were working and trying to, what they were doing before is going to the areas where they had the most outages, and then
Yeah.
while they're in that area to finish. And I think there was about 250 that they've done, I think in the Bear River and Smiths Cove area. But then they pulled out and they're supposed to come back this week, but given the weather, what we've asked them now to do is to come back and do all the outages first, like if they have to bounce around,
Yeah.
but to take care of the outages first and then move on because of the issues that we're having with people complaining. It's dark now, and those outages, they've been out for a number of months. So that's the last email that Terry sent to them, asking them to do that. So we'll wait for a response from them on that.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Do we have a date set for Barry Barnett to meet with us?
Mr. Burnett, they were to come
Yeah.
November 10th. They, at the last minute, I guess it indicated they weren't able to come. What I said, I sent an email to Mr. Barnett stating, and I don't know if I copied council.
Yeah, I think so.
I
read
copied
it.
council saying that, okay, perhaps a meeting isn't what we need, but how can they put in writing how that council can help them with the issue of the use of ATVs on highways? So that was my last thought, maybe that if they don't come down, at least we can have some dialogue and try to get a response from them that way, and I haven't heard anything back on that. But I'm not very optimistic that a meeting will take place. We're offering our help. We've asked that, so.
Could we, maybe through George, you could talk to the people in Weymouth from the ATV, the people that are
Kevin Lombard was the guy
yeah,
that was here, yeah.
if you could talk to Kevin, get Kevin to call Barry, because I mean, like he's waiting to hear back from us, and
So Barry is the,
he's the executive director for the ATV in Nova Scotia.
And I think Kevin sits on the board of the provincial association.
Well,
Kevin
maybe,
Lombard
but
does.
but at least let him know what what we're going through, trying to get a meeting and trying to show support for them. But we're waiting to get more information from Mr. Burnett, and that hasn't taken place.
I will do that.
Is there anything else under the CAO report anybody has to raise? Back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I apologize, but
no problem.
I don't feel good.
Got to do the approval of the payables.
Okay, the payables are next, and the amount, yeah, I had it here a second ago.
I'll move the payables to $794,153.36.
My age. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion carried. Next was the correspondence. Digby Area Board of Trade meeting, RCMP, NSCC brochure, Canadian Diabetes Association, Nova Scotia, Doctors Nova Scotia 2015 Strive Award. I sent that on to DARC as well. They're not eligible, but if you know of anyone who you think might be eligible, it's for more nonprofits. It's not for DARC. Southwest Biosphere Association, their agreement and their analysis. Also with the Canadian Diabetes Association, we had let them know that we cannot send a resolution on their behalf, but we also said we would maybe do a link or whatever with our website to promote it for them.
A proclamation, you mean? Or?
Yeah, we can't do oh, did I say resolution?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you meant
proclamation,
proclamation.
sorry.
Yeah.
Any questions on the correspondence? Okay, next is the standing committees. Bylaw and policy recommendations that the municipality of the District of Digby agree with the terms and conditions of the Canada Nova Scotia Build Canada Small Communities Fund program, that the municipality will conduct an open tendering process, manage the construction of the extension of the sanitary sewer on Shore Road, fund the municipal share of construction costs, fund ongoing operations and maintenance, and follow any migration measures as required by the Canada Environmental Assessment Act.
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Number 2, that the CAO contact Hilton Simon to begin a preliminary design for the Shore Road extension. My only question is, are they still Hilton Simon?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought they had changed names.
I'll move the motion.
Second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Committee of the Whole recommendations that David McNutt be appointed as the municipality of the District of Digby citizen representative on the Digby Area Recreation Commission Board.
I'll move that.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Another comment, he attended his first meeting, seemed very, very nice, very, very interested, and quite young,
And young, yeah.
He's young, yeah.
So,
but very with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed.
They really liked him at Barton when he was there.
Yeah, he was saying where he was in Digby.
Yeah.
The next is the advisory committees, reports, updates. Digby Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, Councilor Adams.
We haven't met since the last meeting.
Heritage.
There was mention of a meeting, but I didn't get no, so there hasn't been anything. Nope.
Heritage Advisory Committees, Councilor Adams and Tudor.
We haven't met since the last meeting. I believe that Rob is meeting with the provincial committee that organizes the,
Okay.
mine's gone blank, in September, the provincial heritage conference.
Mhm.
And after that, then we will meet on a local basis.
Okay. Planning Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Councilor Adams and Tudor. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago, where we have started on the water protection. And our next meeting is January. Any comments?
Sorry.
Joint RCMB Advisory Board, Warden Gregory, Councilor Adams. Our meeting, there's no meeting right now.
Next meeting is scheduled for January.
Oh.
Quarterly meetings,
That's right.
that date.
Remo Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Been no meeting.
Western Regional Housing Authority, Richard Fitzgerald, there has been no,
I've been trying to get a report, so continue to pursue that.
Age-Friendly Community Planning Committee, Councilor Adams.
There hasn't been a meeting of the whole committee, but I think the core committee has been meeting, have they not?
We've had it's been a bit, but we've got one last draft to look at before it comes to the, I think with Dawn being away and myself being
Yeah.
away, it's kind of got delayed a bit.
That's fine.
Next is the Bay of Fundy Marine Transportation Association. We have not had a meeting, but we've been keeping up on where the new ferry is. And right now it's in a port because of bad weather. We are still working on things, trying to, once the boat comes, looking where it should go with the tourism. And because the push is, it has to be economically feasible.
Is it still in Europe?
Yeah,
Oh, is it?
so, but it's slowly coming. But it was bad weather that put them into port. Christopher Wright sends us an update daily of where the boat is. And his last one was, oh no,
Is
it's
he
not.
on it?
Pardon?
Is he on the boat?
No, he's got a plotter.
Oh.
And so he says, he said, it stopped and we don't know why. And then, so
Plotter
now-
stop.
The boat has stopped.
Oh, the
It's
boat
in
has
one-
stopped.
It's in one position, it's not moving. And it's been a few hours. And another email of Paul Barkhouse. He said, due to bad weather, they pulled into that port. So we are being kept up. So it's like I said, it's something that will be finished, I would think, by after the boat's in. And
Do you know which dry dock they're taking the boat to for the retrofit?
I believe it's Halifax.
Okay.
I will double check that with Christopher, but I'm pretty sure it's Halifax.
All right.
The next is the Digby and Area Affordable and Supportive Housing Group, Councilor Tudor.
They got a big meeting they're preparing for on December 3rd. I don't think we've had, I'm pretty sure we didn't have one since the last one.
Okay. There's been a housing funding announcement, October meeting notes, and fall 2014 newsletter. Digby Excuse me. Excuse me. Stay over. Digby Annapolis Development Corporation, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Councilor Tudor.
No meeting.
No meeting, but the building.
Is
I
it
think
sold?
well, it's supposed to be,
It was last Friday, the closing.
closing was last Friday,
Yay.
so building will be sold. Actually, we were very, to be honest, we were very fortunate to be able to find a buyer for the property. I mean, we had to take quite a reduced price for the building based on what it was appraised at, but the building also needs a new roof. And even though
Even a new furnace, doesn't it?
well, the furnace is bad, and it's got an undersized furnace in it, but the roof is leaking, and one room inside the building was getting some mold in it because of the leaking in the roof. So there were some issues, and we didn't want to have to hold on to that building for another winter. And so even though we didn't get nowhere near what we estimated the building to be valued at, I think we're farther ahead by taking what we got and letting someone else fix it up.
A bird in the hand is better than two in the bush.
Oh, yes, that was my thoughts on this, and I was a little concerned because of the time. We had an opportunity earlier, then the second opportunity was the same as the first, pretty much. And I was very, very concerned that the first opportunity was the only one we were going to get, and then it kind of didn't work out. Second one, it's closed, even with the roof and the mold and the furnace. What a happy day.
Okay, thank you. Next is Digby Area Learning Association. Councilor Manzer, you have the September meetings, the Youth Works October report, Learning Growth October report, Family Literacy October report, Executive Director's October report, the DCEC October report. Impressive.
Nothing other major. The auditors come in with their report for the year end. I think the year end's August. So the auditors did their report and presented everything. So that will be in next month's minutes.
Did you say, or did I just hear on the street, that your Executive Director is now back full-time?
Yes, yeah.
Did you tell us that?
Musgrave, yeah.
Okay.
Last meeting, I think.
Okay.
Or September, October.
I just was double checking if
Yeah.
I imagined that.
No, he is back full time.
The next is the Digby Area Recreation Commission. Warden Gregory, Councilor Manzer, October minutes and November reports. The biggest thing I want to say is our new member was there. He found out a few things that he didn't know that affected his job. It was sort of funny because we were telling them, and he says, nobody's told me, because in his real job. But besides that, everything's going well. Bob has had his evaluation. He was given an increase in his salary.
That's a good surprise.
Well, yeah, he hasn't had an increase in 2 or 3 years. So it was time. The pond hockey is gone, and now it's family hockey that's taken its place. The other thing that's happening, the swimming pools, there's new guidelines that have come in, and there's going to be some great difficulties around the province with these new guidelines. We have 2 pool operators, which we're very lucky. A lot don't, and you have to have pool operators. And then they're going to be getting some help with these guidelines. And he was told to treat the guidelines the same as if they were an act, because they're going to be coming. So you never know. Some of our guys could be going around checking other pools for in other areas. Because
It's a
they're going to
shared
need them.
service.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it could be. So, anything? No. So, we're just really pleased. Our coordinator is looking for more things out there in the community, what's working, what's not working, what could be done better. So, Kara's doing that, and Danny did not have a report this month because he's been off trying to kill moose and deer, which I guess he hasn't been doing a good job of, they tell me. He did get a deer in Digby finally.
He did?
Well, that's what they said. They were talking about how many times he fires.
A lot.
That was an understatement. Apparently they shot at a moose 7 times and missed each time.
And they're huge.
Was that in Newfoundland?
Yeah. So they could miss a moose. Just think how good they were doing with the deer. That was the only other comment, but that's the only reason we didn't get a report from Danny, because he's been on vacation. The next is the Digby Area Tourism Association. Councilor Manser, the October minutes were there.
Yeah, the last meeting, seems they're maybe on a better track than they have been. They have a new chairman, Saskia, and she's full of energy and willing to take on some different tasks. And they've had one meeting on this 183 loop, or 138 loop, with representatives from different areas, except for, I think, Annapolis. There was Digby, Yarmouth, South Shore, Shelburne, Liverpool area. So, and they had another meeting scheduled for either late this month or early December. Bay Ferries are there. Nova Star, Department of Parks and Canada Parks or whatever. So there's a lot of people on board, and hopefully they can make something.
That's great. Really great.
So they've generated a lot of interest other than just the community.
Okay. Thank you. The next is the Digby Development Agency, Warden Gregory, Digby Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Yeah, we met last week. It was a post-meeting from coming back from the ICOE conference. I want to say that the DDA has been moving along fairly well. I think it's pretty exciting times right now with the potential opportunities that we have with title. The day after the conference, Terry had 3 or 4 people here from France, and today there were people here from another company, Open Hydro, and they were here for pretty much the whole day, and they're one of the main developers. They're one of the berth holders, and they're in partnership with Emera. They plan on having 2 turbines in the water next year. They're being built right now, or put together, I should say, in Woodside up in Dartmouth. I feel that company there is probably has the best opportunity for the Digby area going forward because of the technology that they're going to use and the amount of work it's going to take into deploying their turbines. They're each turbine weighs close to 400 ton based on the base and the turbine itself. So the turbine is being built in either Ireland or France. It's an Irish company, but they have a lot of French people.
Yeah, weren't they
in their
doing
group.
a mixture?
Pardon me?
Weren't they doing some in each country?
Well, they've got one deployed in France.
Yeah.
But I think between the 2 countries, that's where that's where the technology is coming from. So I think their plan's still to put the turbines together over there, bring them over here, but have the bases built here, have the turbine put on the base, and then deployed. And they'll have to have customized barges made to deploy these turbines to the base of the Bay of Fundy. And so, it's exciting times right now. I think that there's really strong potential for the title industry to maybe take off in Digby. So I feel that what I like about it is all the efforts that we've been putting in as a group is starting to show some signs of growth. So we'll keep you posted on how we're doing, but that's about all I can report on right now. I think, and this all stems from going to that conference. I mean, Open Hydro is here because of our contact with them in Halifax. We met with them up there as well, and this is just a follow-up from that. And I think they had 3 people down here today from Open Hydro.
Really?
Yeah, so they're very serious about moving forward, and I think they have a very aggressive timeline where they want to get this done, and like they've stated even when, for those that were at Port Days, that they plan on having 2 turbines in the water next year. They want to have 16 megawatts of production by 2017. In 2020 going forward, they want to have 300 megawatt capacity. Well, they're making 2 megawatt turbines. That's 150. So that's 150 units that would end up going in the water. So we're in a really good place to be for the development, for putting those together here and deploying them. So, and actually, the turbines that they want to deploy, their maintenance schedule on those is, as long as nothing severe happens, their maintenance schedule is to haul them out of the water every 5 years to do a refit. So if you got 150 in the water, you just figure out, how many they're going to pull every year. So it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to create some good employment in the region.
Now, do we want to talk about the ICOE tonight?
Well, we should.
Okay.
Well, we went up there as a group of 9, which I thought was really special because Clare and the town of Digby and ourselves went together, and we had the warden from Clare and their economic development officer. We had the mayor and the councillor from the town who serves on the DDA, and myself and the warden, and we had Jeff and Terry and Dan Harvey, our consultant. We broke ourselves up into 3 teams, 3 to a team, and that was the intent of that was for business meetings. We kind of got off track a little bit, but we still had our meetings. And it went very, very well. I felt from the ones that I attended, like with Open Hydro and Clean Current, we had some really positive meetings. There was another company, and they were actually the gentleman that came here from France on the Friday after the conference. They're from. They have a shipbuilding yard over in France where they build all the military ships for France, and it's like a huge complex. And they've got a turbine that's expandable. Like it's different. Like it goes this way, around and round, and you can put pieces on top to make it bigger and produce more energy. But so they're trying to market their turbine as well. And but they're not a berth holder up in the Minas Basin. So I think what they're looking at is more of a small stream tidal, similar to what Fundy Tidal does. So, and when we were up there too, there was a lot of good interaction even between Fundy Tidal and some of the other companies. I know, talking to Dana, he was going to be showing some people that were bringing some technology in that you put in rivers, and he had planned on taking them up to the Bear First Nations to show them this one component they had that you could put right into a riverbed to create electricity. So, do you remember seeing that? Yeah. But I think it was probably coming away from that it was one of the better conferences I'd attended, in the fact that when you came away from it, you felt like you've accomplished something. And as far as going to the sessions to take a learning part, that was secondary. Primary thing was to make contact with people, have meetings with people, let them know who Digby was. We had done up a little USB to pass out with the information on all the title that we've done to date, and very well received. People don't want a bunch of papers when they're flying. You give them a little USB, and they're good to go. And we also made sure that that those went to the Minister of Energy, and I gave one to Gordon to see that the Premier received one. So.
And we made sure NSCC got one.
Yeah.
We made sure
Department of
most of
Labor.
the companies that we talked with that we felt, we gave one to. We did attend. Oh my God, Dana Warren, his company was FTI was in doing a talk, and we all went into that, make sure we were showing our support. Mm-hmm. Even at the opening, Minister Younger commented on Digby and where we're going. It was, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of articles in the paper over the last couple of weeks. Harry had shown little clips of Vanguard, Courier, Nova News, Halifax Herald, like we're kind of out there now, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of-
Now we gotta have more.
I got so excited reading all the clips of it, I poked myself in the eye.
Yeah.
That's how worked up I got at like 9 in the morning, jumping around. It's just as thrilled as can be. I just want to say there's so much riding on this, and the cooperation has been key. Like, there's a lot of people stepping up, business, politicians, the community in general. And there's so many players in this, so that getting this done is just what a great example for the rest of the province. I got a lot of comments about how well we all work together, and how we're united behind goals, and it's the way to go.
Also, we were the only ones there from Nova Scotia. Like,
Really?
we were the only municipalities there. Yeah, and actually, I was talking to a lady one morning there, and I said, I think the next step would be to see that we have more provincial and federal politicians here also, pushing this. And no sooner did I say that than Gordon walked in, so that was kind of nice.
Perfect timing.
So he brought a MLA from Colchester in with him, so we had a chance to talk to him. No, up around Amherst, Colchester area.
They work together, those two, on different things.
But I can't remember his name right now. Got his card. No, it was all positive. I don't know of anything negative that came out of that at all. It was all positive.
And I worked the Nova Scotia booth for a while.
They almost kicked you out of the Canada booth.
Huh?
I said they almost kicked you out of the Canada booth.
I was just the way it was.
Yeah,
What?
Well, I was just explaining. that
promoting
we
Nova
were-
Scotia apples. Or no, not the apples, the maple syrup.
I kept saying. We were
Oh,
the
that!
best.
Yes,
So
I know what we're
We were
talking
the
about
Nova
now, yeah.
Scotia, we had the best, and even though it didn't come from the Digby area, it came from Tatamagouche, it was still good.
I think we have the best sauerkraut. Yeah, from Brown, baby.
Well, again,
Okay.
yeah. But anyway, it was fun. I
But-
get to talk to a lot of people too on that, just as they come up and ask questions. Yeah.
Just the last thing I want to say on the thing for the DDA is that where we met last week, now we're going forward with what our next steps are. So we've got Site 1 and Site 2 that we have to look at. Environmental assessments have to be done on those sites. Right now, the both of those sites is owned by the federal government, so we don't own the property, so we have to talk to the federal government that going forward to get, we have to start that communication to see whether or not, we're going to be able to use those sites.
Are you
Now-
doing a study? Are you paying to have a study done?
Well, not until we have permission to,
that?
to do something. Now, right at
Is
the
there a
present,
big difference, between the two sites?
Ours is, the number 2 site is deeper,
yeah, like,
and it's on Shore Road.
Yeah,
And the other
there's-
one is in town.
yeah, there's potential too that we could develop both sites eventually. It's just a matter of, depending on how many berth holders actually set up here. But currently, the town of Digby is trying to acquire the basin, or the Digby, not the
Yeah,
basin, but the
side, yeah.
Digby Harbor bid. So if they do acquire the Digby Harbor bid, Site 1 is inside that, so that'll be okay. So
How
it's
do you
just
acquire the Digby Harbor?
sort of like we did with lighthouses.
Yeah. Well, the
Has
government-
to be
They're looking to
Digby
divest
take
it.
over
divested?
again.
Yeah, divested. It'll be
okay.
divested to them. So
Federal.
Yeah, the federal government. So if it's divested to them, then it's a matter then, okay, there's one site, it's already basically in municipal control. So it's a matter then of getting the environmental assessments approved, and then the next steps would be the regulatory approvals. And then we would have to look at this engineering, the structure, and then funding, and who we would approach for funding. Would it be private? Would it be government? So those are the kind of things we're looking at going forward. So coming, like I said, so coming back from the conference, we had to sit down and say, okay, where do we go from here, and what do we do next? And that's what we're working on now. So,
You can move ahead with these steps even though we're,
well, we can't do anything until we get permission from the province to,
move ahead.
well, that we could even do something. It's their property. So, for example, Site 2, I would think anyway, and I could be wrong, but I would think that we'd have to approach the government to see if we could get a lease to the use of that at Harbor Bottom? And if so, then after we acquired that, then we could actually go forward with environmental assessment to see what would have to be done to put.
Is there a precedence for this, or is this just something that you are kind of developing as you go along because it's so new?
I think we're treading in new water in a lot of ways, but yet I think whenever a harbor's developed, they probably have gone down the same road.
Okay.
So I think it's just new for our group.
Yeah.
But I think Jeff has experienced a lot of this with his previous employment.
Really?
So we got a good resource on our staff.
Okay, sorry.
That's quite all right. No, that's fine. So where's that? Let's go. Actually,
Retired Port Authority.
okay, we'll have to come back to that when the warden comes back. Digby Library Committee. The Digby Library Committee hasn't met. The last time we met, we were looking at putting in some track lighting in the hallway. I don't know if you've had a chance to get into the library, but the John Collier photographs are on the walls. Well, we're changing the lighting in that hallway to try to, I guess, enhance the lighting for the pictures. So that's going to be done right soon. Digby Municipal Fire Association, Councillor Manzer.
No meeting since September, and I think there was a meeting happening in December. So
Okay.
hasn't been anything lately.
Highway 101 Task Force, Councillor Adams.
Well, we had that wonderful announcement by Greg Kerr and Gordon Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
We will probably be meeting again because we have some questions and concerns about different things, and we have possibly somebody from the town of Yarmouth joining our committee, so I guess we have to meet.
Yeah.
But I don't know when. I think part of that depended on the safety audit. We were talking about meeting after that was finished, right? Which was supposed to be sometime in December.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so it may
Be the
probably
new
be the
year.
new year
Yeah.
sometime. Yep.
Okay, we skipped the Digby Harbor Port Association because it's yours, and then we go right from there to King's Transit.
Okay, excuse me. In October, we had our meeting, and it was really, well, on last Friday, we pulled together our completion of the wharf, our completion of the
Breakwater.
Session at the
Breakwater.
fire hall.
and where we're going, looking at further.
Mm-hmm.
We're not having a meeting this month. We're going to wait till December to have our next meeting. Our project manager is still on for a bit yet. She'll finish up some things. I think him and Ed are doing a great job. The rumor is, not confirmed, that our chair may be stepping down because he feels that piece is done, that
He can
may
retire?
He may move on. No,
Arizona's calling.
So, he's actually sold his boats.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he's sold. He says he's getting too old to go up and down the ladders.
Oh.
But on the whole, I mean, from where we started to where we are is unbelievable. We had a great turnout at the on the Friday night session. So, and that's really all I can say right now is you've got our minutes and we're up, just finishing up some smaller projects like the holes in the. How are they coming, Jeff?
They're coming along. They started pouring the first of the concrete last week.
In this warm weather, I don't know if the rain affects it, but the warm weather should help. So. Okay, where are we now?
King's Transit.
Oh, boy, you fellows went right along. With the King's Transit Authority, we're meeting Wednesday night. But I just received this afternoon our newsletter, which I'm going to highlight in our newsletter. You have it?
I was thinking that we could do the January council meeting as well.
Oh, yeah, but there was a couple of highlights I wanted to mention from the newsletter. It will be in the January. Okay. Fare revenue for the entire system continues to show steady growth. October's year-to-date actual ended up with a 2% increase over 2013. I thought that was important. And that what they did this year, King's Transit provided transportation for the veterans attending the annual Remembrance Day events in Kentville. Veterans were able to travel from the Legion to the Cenotaph and back on one of King's Transit's new buses. So I just wanted to comment, those were a couple of things that happened that were well done. Otherwise, I will give it to you in the January meeting. The next is the Senior Safety Committee. Councillor Tudor, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
Due to a death in Dawn's family, there was a cancellation of the meeting.
There's been no dates that I haven't heard anything back. I'm taking a little wait and see as far as that's concerned. I'll set the next date.
Okay. Shared Services Committee, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Councillors Adams and Tudor.
There's been no meeting since the last council meeting.
When is our next meeting for the Sheriff Services?
It's not set yet.
Okay, good, because I had a page torn out of my agenda for my kids. I was thinking that it was on there.
Only
I don't know what happened to it for next month. I've been checking. I'm all worried I'm going to miss something now.
Transport declare, Councillor Manzo.
We had an October meeting. A manager had been hired and was there 2-3 days, and then got another job offer from somebody here with home care or some kind of in Digby here somewhere, I guess. So money was more, benefits were better, so you couldn't really blame her for taking it.
No.
She didn't have any clue that she was even kind of in the running for it, so she took the transport declare job, and a couple of days later they called her and offered her the other job, so she took that. So they're going to go back to the procedure, advertising it again, and looking for a manager. Yeah,
They might someday find one.
they might.
Nobody can do the work that he does.
Tyview Terrace, Councillor Manzer, August minute.
Yeah, we had a meeting in October, and about the only thing major from the meeting was the last 2 years they've been after us or asking us if we wanted interruption insurance if something happens at the home, right? They have insurance to cover it if half it floods out or half it burns down or something. You can get insurance to keep paying what you would have lost, right? So as a board, we decided not to take that insurance. We figured the province would look after them anyway. Well, last meeting, Deborah told us that she found out they had to have the insurance. So the last 2 years when Jimmy was there, like, we voted it down both years. And then now she comes back and tells us last meeting that we have to have it, so no choice.
Good question.
Go ahead.
Who told her that we had to have it? The province?
I'm not sure, Jimmy, but somebody like above her, whatever, some of her.
It would be nice to know who.
Okay, I can find it.
Yeah, because I'd like to know if it was provincially mandated, because if it was, she should have known that a long time ago. It shouldn't have just come up.
Yeah, I don't know why she didn't, but
I mean,
she
'cause
just
we've
said
had-
that she had been informed that.
Right.
You know, so.
Because we discussed that a number of times.
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
both years, each year, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, if you're suddenly
Well,
told
it
it's mandated, then
Yeah.
the province should be helping with that.
Well, there was some other insurance too that she was trying to see us buy, and I couldn't see the value in it. I can't remember what it was now, but it wasn't something that I felt was relevant for Tideview, and it would have been just a waste of money in my mind. But anyway, there was a better way to spend the money.
How are the citizen reps doing on it?
Good.
Yeah.
Can I
Go
ask?
ahead.
You must find the different dynamics of the board now with just having 2 councillors on there rather than having 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's certainly, it's plus most, or 2 of them or 3 of them are new. They've only been there 2.
Right.
1 or 2 of them's only, Al Nor has only been to 1, I think, and a couple of the others only been to 2, so.
Are you finding that the new representatives are engaged in the meeting?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But
that's
it's
good.
going to take them a while to kind of get up to
speed.
speed on what's going on, what has gone on, stuff like that. It just
But
takes
they were all able to participate in the strategic planning session that took place? I think they were.
Except for Mason Van Tassel, he wasn't. But
Okay.
the others were.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay. Upper Clemens Park Society, Counselor Adams.
The minutes are there from September. I was unable to go to the October meeting as I was away, and usually they would have met last Thursday, but they're not meeting till this Thursday, so I'll have 2 sets of minutes when I come in January, I guess.
Okay. Waste check. Oh, that's me. Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
The last meeting was canceled due to not having a quorum, and actually it was the first time we were trying to do video conferencing, so we were having the technology here plus in Yarmouth. I wasn't able to come in because of my work, and so we've got a meeting scheduled for this Monday. So, and they want to do a face-to-face meeting, so, but I'm still going to push for use of video conferencing because it will save us money. And we've got the technology sitting there, and we should use it or try to use it anyway. Apparently they had problems with the system in Yarmouth. So ours was working, but theirs wasn't.
Western Counties Regional Library, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
2 weeks ago we had a strategic planning session for the Western Counties Regional Library. It's the first one that's been done in 10 years, and I thought it went over very well. It was was very condensed as far as timing. The timelines allowed to do it, but I felt that we accomplished a lot in just a few hours. And we had a board meeting last week and discussed it further, and we're moving forward with putting our plan in operation. So I just received another email today to read over it and to get back to the executive director. She's trying to get, we had 5 points that we wanted to work on, and the board supported 4 of them, no problem. One of them caused a bit of controversy, but some board members felt it should be worded differently or go a different way, and so we've got to further discuss that. But it went well. And also, what I did is I'm the chair, I incorporated having the board meetings move around. So we had the board meeting in Digby. The previous one was in Barrington. Next one will go back to Yarmouth again. And I want us to move them around the region, because not only is it allowing us to have the board meetings off-site, just because they've always been in Yarmouth. As long as I've been going there, they've always been in Yarmouth. So it's the first time we've ever moved them. But it also gave us an opportunity to go to some of the library branches and to tour them, and actually have the board members go into the branches to see what's there. And so when we went down to the South Shore, we went to Clark's Harbour, Lockport, Barrington. We actually had the board meeting in Barrington. We went to Shelburne, Argyle. So the first time that the board had ever even seen inside the libraries. And then last week, when the board members from the South Shore came up this way and from Yarmouth, they stopped in Metagan and looked at the branch there and toured that one. They toured Weymouth. I met them in Weymouth, and we toured the Weymouth Library, brought them up here, toured the Digby Library, and then had the board meeting here. And it went very well. Our branch in Weymouth, I'm being biased, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the nicest library we have in the whole system.
I agree with that completely.
And that community hall down there is used all the time.
The program room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
I use it for all the adoption stuff. That's where you'd have it. It's either that or
Yeah.
Windsor.
Busy.
The only thing that has never been used for what the original intent was the counselor's office.
There's storage tables, chairs.
It's storage room now, but it's actually it's very handy.
Counselor's office. What's this?
It was supposed to be your office.
Well, when we built the library, the intent was, like, if you had to meet with somebody from Weymouth, you wouldn't have to drive to Digby to meet them. They could meet you there.
I had no idea there was some room there for that.
Yeah, well,
Not anymore.
but there's no, you're out of luck now. There's not even a desk there. So
That's okay.
but
You
anyway,
could still meet in there, but it'd be a little crowded.
You both stand.
Yeah, I know it's used quite a bit because we have our painting class there, but we schedule for Tuesdays, and sometimes it's booked already so far ahead that we have to switch to another day, like for some weeks, so it's definitely being used all the time.
All the time, and it's very reasonable. It's $10 a session.
Yeah.
Or like, so if there's 3 sessions in a day, and if you want to use the computers and stuff that they have locked up there, it's $5 more. So, I mean, how can you beat that? If you're doing a training session and you have all the technology available to you for $5.
And then when you're
So-
done, you go across the street and eat at one of the restaurants or the bakery or whatever. I find it's been good for the downtown core, because everything I've ever been there, and there's been quite a variety at this point, always knock off for lunch right in the town. So
Yeah.
it's been good that way too.
One of the things too, the counselors from down Barrington, Shelburne, when they walked in and they saw our crest in the floor, that really impressed them a lot too.
Ah.
You know, famous here, but
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean, they were really impressed with that building. But
And you should have. Western Regional Enterprise Network Advisory Committee.
there hasn't been any meetings. I expect there'd be one again soon, but there hasn't been. That's a committee that's not going to meet every month. It'll probably meet 4 times a year.
Okay. The next is the Weymouth Doctor Recruiting Committee, Warden Gregory, Counselor Manzer. We have not had a meeting. It is not official yet, but Dr. Westby is either semi-retiring or retiring in January.
I had heard first I heard he was retiring, and I think his wife, I had heard his wife say something about on to the spring.
So, you know,
He's going to still be there at least till spring.
so there's a big change.
Yeah.
The other thing we're waiting for is to hear from Claire, because they were going to invite George and I down to meet with the doctors, and I think Linda,
Over the Christmas holidays?
whatever that is. So, and then we're going to send a care package to them. Like, they're going to do one at Christmas, we're going to do one like February,
Okay.
so.
Is that the doctors that, or
Yes.
the students
Students
going
that
to
are-
Sherbrooke?
Yes.
Sherbrooke?
Okay.
And, the next is council reports. So we will start with Councilor Tudor.
All right.
Oh, thank you, Councilor Tudor.
What's that?
You opened your mouth and closed it, I thought you were done.
Oh, well, usually it flaps for quite a while in between. Been busy down the islands. I've also been working on a couple of the bigger things like PACE a little bit, and in particular the mental health piece that you guys know I've been working a little bit on. But I'm making sure it's not yellow bananaed. So there you go. I've been talking to
You
Dash.
mean green bananas, darling.
Oh, oops, yellow, green bananas.
No, yellow everybody eats.
No, I'm sure.
Green.
My wife says I'm colorblind. Maybe she's right. I don't know. Digby RCMP in particular, and the Digby Clare mental health guys have been good for suggestions on how to keep it really affordable, which I thought was quite interesting. The ECOA comfort stations, I'm just waiting on letting staff do it. I was going to get some of the villages to write some letters and things like that, but I'm just going to wait and let the staff do it before trying the political end. So I'm holding back on that. Keeping myself good. Lighthouses, back on my agenda. Luckily, I passed over all the information in front of 40 people, so they knew that I did, because it was claimed I didn't. But luckily, there was 36 people that could attest to that happening. But so the long and short of it hasn't gone anywhere, and I am talking to somebody about possibly being the chair of that, and I figure that that's the perfect person to do it. And as we all know, the thing that has Boar's Head and Point Prim and all that, what they have in common is an engaged and dedicated community group. And I need that. I can't do the whole thing myself. And I think I've got somebody that's perfect for it. So I'm talking to her tomorrow. I got an interesting phone call from a professor at Acadia. It was from a meeting that I'd had with the Nature Conservancy quite a long time ago, and I suggested, because I'd heard that there was money available for flood mitigation, I suggested that the bog in Westport, which was dug out about 30 years ago, has been slowly destroying all the rare plants as it dries, and it's also been adding lots of area for seagulls. We now have a globally significant amount of herring gulls. We have almost as many gulls on Westport as there was 30 years ago in the entire province. Just to give you an idea of the number.
Is that good or bad?
No, you don't want that many. The feces, or the guano, I should say, it builds up and starts to poison the interior of the island and kill plants and poison the area. I suggested that they could maybe hit the government up as a flood mitigation project that would be unveiled for the public, so they could walk through it and see that this is how they've gotten rid of the big ditches. And I also suggested things like bird watching towers, so you could go right through the bog, which is very, very interesting. As the professor said, you could have a dozen professors spend their entire lives just studying that one bog. There's so many unusual things to do with it. And he wants me to bring that to the community because they're going to do all of it. They're going to put it together, but because I pitched it before, I thought they weren't listening at all. But I guess something came up with government, federal government monies magically coming up for some odd reason lately. And hopefully that'll work out. I think that'd be a real good attraction for Westport, and it'd be nice to see that significant area reclaimed. I just want to throw this out to you guys. I want to do an outreach myself, if it's at all possible, for the youth at ICS, if I can get some documentation from the group that we're dealing with, so I can talk to them and maybe go through the same process to some degree, just to get their input on our youth strategy. I just throwing that out there. I'll talk to you guys later about it, hopefully. Talked to 9 commissioners, all but one. Oh, did I not clear?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
The youth outreach.
Youth, I thought that's what you
Oh,
said,
sorry.
but I wasn't sure. Okay.
Accent comes and goes. 9 commissioners, talked to 8 of them about the village, and I put up a notice on Facebook, just letting know, with nothing really on it other than a link to the UNSM page, and I cut out those two little spots just because I wanted people to know, and I didn't want it to come back on me that this was done secretly. No, I've talked to every commissioner, and here you go. If you got anything to say, this is where you say it. But there was no content.
But see, they were all sent them.
A lot of them didn't know about it. I will say that. A lot of them. I think maybe all of them.
But if they were sent it, then it's up to them to open up their papers and go through it.
Well, it would still get tossed on me, and I wanted
Oh, I have no problem with
engagement.
that.
I
but
want people
don't
to know.
But they should be checking if they did not receive it, why they didn't, when we were told all villages received it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be talking to the passages, and I'll be passing on, but I'll be taking your advice that you gave me earlier.
Did they send them hard copies, Warden, or was that an email to all of them?
Some of them don't even have computers.
Do you know?
It would have been sent the way it was sent to us, and I believe it was by email.
Okay, some of them don't even have computers.
Well, that's what I'm
But
wondering.
it would have gone to,
Somebody.
it would have gone to
yeah, the secretary
whoever,
should have disseminated.
their financial
Chairman or
person,
something.
whoever their financial person is.
Each village has a village clerk.
And
Yeah,
that's who
you
it would have
think-
gone to.
I'll talk to the clerk. I know a couple of the clerks, so I'll talk to them. The food and wood bank's back up and running. I had a real good luck. I have a lot of trouble with the wood because I don't own a truck. And my relatives are undependable. So luckily, Mr. Lombard works with someone we know on the net a little bit, knows her. And when I heard that, I was hanging out at the local garage, and I was like, hey, can you bring wood next time you go up there to fish? And sure enough, he showed up the next day with his boy, and the three of us stacked it up right nice, and they got delivered right to our door. So I was very happy about that, because that's always been a problem. Specific is getting it there. So that's good. And the food bank's up and running. I've been getting crazy support from everybody in the community. A local girl, actually, instead of getting candy, asked for food bank, and she pushed a wheelbarrow around, got over 100 pounds of food donated, and had blisters on her hands. And so I was very proud. I sent a little write-up into Passages, and now, because it worked out so well and her parents were so pleased and everybody was all proud of her, she's doing the same thing for Christmas, getting other kids presents and going around rather than presents for herself. So it warms my half
You can say her
frozen
name,
heart.
Ms. Crocker.
Yes, Mackenzie Crocker. Yeah, so I've been very happy about how Mackenzie, very, very proud of her.
I
whole
would
community.
hope you sent her a letter of thanks.
Oh, I've been talking to her parents, and I sent her a couple emails, but We could get her a municipal letter. Do you think that'd be all right? Something a little fancy? I think she'd appreciate that.
You get it ready and you bring it in, but you can send her, especially with the.
Maybe a little certificate.
David,
Good citizen or something.
get it ready and
Okay.
take it to Linda.
I've been trying to get a local person for the snowplow. I got a guy, he don't drink, he don't do drugs, he's completely dependable, and he knows how to use a vehicle and for our transportation. Because right now what happens, you end up getting guys trucked down to the islands from like Weymouth or Cornwallis, dropped off at it's just very inefficient, and it has to cost them a ton of money because they're always driving people back and forth for that don't live there, and it takes a while to respond to bad weather, so it's a safety issue. So I've been talking to everyone I can about that to the point where I don't feel like I can call anyone else again. The cat situation, I didn't get the money from us. However, I made a deal with Friends of Ferals, and the cats are going to be dealt with. They're going to be trapped, spayed, ears notched, and I have somebody that I think would be perfect to feed the cats, because that's the deal. I have to find someone that's willing to feed the cats, and Friends of Ferals will pay for the food. Like every second day, they leave some food out at a barn or a fish shop or whatever. So that's good. I'm very happy about that. Also, we've been working on the beautification letter. We've had a couple meetings.
Oh, go right ahead.
And I have sort of like I asked for a 2-page summary, and so I can start maybe take it to, for example, the village commissions or DARC or whatever I can think of for the beautification projects, any groups to get letters of support. You're like me and that cell phone when I first had it. I didn't know how to turn it off or answer it or nothing.
Start talking.
That was more interesting than me. That's the worst part. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Been very busy. There you go.
Thank you.
Getting lots of calls from the neck, so I'm happy about that. I'm finally getting calls from the neck like I do.
From Little River down.
Yep, Little River down. All right. All right.
Get it right.
Okay, I'm done. I'll stop. How's that? I'm done.
Thank you. Councilor Manzo?
During the last month, we've had a couple of open spaces meetings, and they're about ready to present us with their final draft, I think, right? Maybe? Jeff? Next draft, or the next draft anyway. We have to. Then the UNSM meetings or a couple weeks, or the first week of November. Attended the laying of the wreaths and the Remembrance Day ceremony at the Weymouth Legion. Was at Clare Council Chambers last week for when they had their presentation of the title from the people that were here. Big Port Authority meeting last Friday night, which was well attended and very informative. And that's about it. Oh, Parade of Lights is in Weymouth on the 20th of December. You're all welcome.
20th December?
What's it called?
Parade of Lights. Like
Oh,
Christmas.
parade. Okay.
Parade of
Yeah.
Lights, so it
Did
was
you have
good.
your tree lighting?
They had that last Saturday.
Yeah, I thought it was
Up at
last
Food
week.
Land,
Yeah.
You do realize it's the same time as the DARC meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's already been set, so I can't.
No, I'm just,
Yeah, I know, it's.
okay. Just wanted to make sure you knew that.
So I'll probably be at the Parade of Lights, I think, to provide hot dogs and stuff.
Hey,
Good one.
sausages.
Free hot dogs.
Sausage.
Free hot
Free?
dogs. Yeah.
Free hot dogs. There you go. Give some free periwinkles too if you wanted.
No, thank
Good
you.
deal.
Councilor Adams?
I attended the UNSM as well. We had a healthy eating committee meeting here, looking to see how things are going and what we can do. We had a meeting of council with the consultants that were leading the youth engagement workshops for the 14th and 15th. We met here the night before that. I went down to the Tree of Lights on Sunday in Weymouth, and I've attended 3, I think, benefits in the last month, and I've just heard that one that was Saturday, they raised $21,000. It's just amazing.
That is amazing.
And the one before that raised 14, and the one before that 10. So when you consider how small our communities are, and we're
In
not
1 month.
well-to-do, that's an awful lot of money that's being raised. People open their hearts and pocketbooks, and it's amazing. It's very good. That's it.
Deputy Warden.
Just to touch on things that we haven't talked about. Attended the Remembrance Day service in Bear River,
Oh, yeah.
and also the one in Smith Cove. I found this year I didn't freeze for one thing.
No, it's beautiful.
Nice, because last year it was bitterly cold. But I felt there was a lot more people this year for the service in Bear River, and they had a good attendance in Smith Cove as well. But the Bear River turnout was quite large.
They're saying that they feel a lot of it was due to the soldiers, that they just,
I think so too. Between that and being the 100th anniversary of the start of World War I.
And the weather.
And I know I went to the church service. In Bear River every year they do a church service, and they rotate it from one church to another. They had that first, and then they had the laying of the wreath at the Cenotaph downtown. And the church service I felt was really good this year. I really liked one of the ministers, what he spoke about was like, about World War I and how needless it was to even be started. Like, it was just basically he said there was 7 men in the world back in 1914 that controlled the world, and just because they bickered, that's what happened. It had nothing to do with anything else. It was so needless. And then really World War II evolved from World War I because of the outcomes of World War I after the war was over. So he did a really good job speaking about it. And so that was good. And then on the 12th, I also attended the Community Energy Trust presentation that was in Clare. George and myself and Terry were there. And then on the 19th, the 14th, I believe it was, I also attended the Port of Digby event down at the Digby Fire Hall. I thought that was very nice. I figured there was probably about 50 people there, and it was really nice to see how we've come from where the wharf was to where it is today, and the guy sitting over in the end there has got to take a lot of credit for that.
Gone from a joke to in the business section as a success.
Well, that wharf's in top shape right now, and
done a lot of work.
Yeah,
the people that have been involved in it need to be proud of what they've accomplished.
definitely.
That's all.
Okay.
I also attended Remembrance Day services at Barton, at a church service, and then we walked down to the Cenotaph and place wreaths.
And I bet Jack was missed.
Pardon?
And I bet Jack was missed. Jack Gillespie.
Yes. Well, we haven't gone anywhere for the last 2 years because, first of all, the weather wasn't great, but the veterans that were there were fragile, and they just really couldn't make that walk down there. Although some people drive their car down and then just get out across the street, but you know how dangerous it is there. Like, we were walking along, and an 18-wheeler came up over the brow from Weymouth, and I thought, oh my, but he was so good. The guy slowed down. He practically went to a crawl. He pulled over so that, because he saw everybody walking, and he must have realized while we were there, it was 11 o'clock almost on, Remembrance Day. So I was quite impressed with him, but it's such a dangerous spot to walk.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stan wasn't there either.
Oh, no, he was in Digby.
How was he? Because he
He was-
sometimes goes there.
Yeah, but he was in Digby this year.
That made me think of something too. It would be really nice if they would stop the traffic when there's a Cenotaph right by the highway, because it's the same thing as Smith Cove.
And at the 217, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, they should
Yeah.
stop the traffic
Little
during
road.
the service and show a little respect instead of having people drive back, driving through there. Because, I know in Smith Cove this year, there had to be 6 or 7 cars that drove. I know they didn't drive fast, but still, you're doing your service, and these cars are.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And there's RCMP representation at most of these things. Maybe that would be something that could be done. Just stop traffic for 20 minutes.
Well, it's a bit hard for them to be in the red surge, being at the Cenotaph.
can't do it,
They
but-
can't do both.
Yeah, you're right.
Little River is at least off on that side road, the Cenotaph. It's not like on the main where in Gulliver's, it's right on the 217, the same as
Yep.
Barton. And it does make a difference when you have traffic, and it's a valid point.
Be nice maybe if it doesn't come from it could come from transportation, where they could maybe put some people there to just stop the traffic during the service, or show some respect, you know, so that.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should pursue.
Maybe at the next time we meet with transportation, we can discuss it.
Can we put that on the agenda, please? Good idea.
Well,
Okay, now it's my turn. On October 31st, mind you, way back when, Maritza, I, and David attended the Community Energy Trust in Wolfville. Remember?
Energy Trust? I thought it was fiscal.
Yes. Oh, sorry, the financial indicators.
Okay,
Yeah.
I had the wrong thing in my book.
Punches to the head I've gotten,
Sorry.
Fiscal review.
Physical review. So we all attended that on Halloween. It was fun.
That's right, I forgot.
I also attended at the UNSM, the caucus meeting, and then I received my award and received the award with Terry for the climate change for the municipality. And then on Friday I listened to the ministers, and in between I went to the ICOE and had fun, even if I did say Nova Scotia was the best, which people didn't think was very appropriate, but I did. We went to the waste check conference call, which didn't happen because I got caught at work and couldn't get away on November. But on that morning, I also, though, was able to get away for the Remembrance Day service at the high school, and that was very well done. The kids, I shouldn't say that, the young students do such an excellent job, and the girl that did it on that Monday, really fantastic. I mean, she might have been 16, but she could have been 26 or 36, you know, just the way she carried herself and acted. Then I went to the wreath laying and the dinner on the 11th from the Legion. Also, I went to the youth engagement, the joint meeting that we all attended. Then I had the fun of popping in a note on Friday for the youth engagement. And then we got the celebration of the war completion that went on for me from 4:30 on, which was nice. On Saturday, I attended the youth engagement, even if I had an email that I got on my way to town. I attended the Nova West Lab opening in Metagon on Sunday the 16th. The lab is with Camo Seafoods and University St. Anne's. University St. Anne's has a piece over here that does high levels of research. Over here, they have all these labs that they're doing water testing, they're doing mercury, they're doing all sorts of things. It's fantastic. They have room to grow. Our MLA was there. Our NP was there. It was a lot of people that I recognized were there.
Is the other one closed?
Yes, the other one is gone. So if you know where the old Jackie's was, up from Clarence's, that's where it is. And it is gorgeous.
Where old
So-
Jackie's was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Clarence's.
Up from Clarence's,
Yeah.
where Jackie's was.
Yeah. Smitty's.
Smitty, oh,
You mean
sorry.
Smitty's, up on the
Smitty's.
side road.
Yes,
Yeah.
Smitty's, because I'm thinking
Called it
Jackie's
the
is
wrong
now
name.
Blue Whale.
That's all right. I didn't even know Smitty. When they first told me it was in the Smitty's building, I said, "Why are they going with clothes?" They went, "That's been
That's
closed."
been closed for quite a while, yeah.
Yeah, I'm real up on speed on that.
Jim got his wedding suit. Beautiful Italian.
I did the evaluation with Bob, and I also had day surgery, just to let you know that I did, and I was benign for the first time in my life, that I had the perfect test, that there was no polyps, and the students were very disappointed because they were allowed to come watch me because I have made medical books, so they were disappointed. And then I went to Cook's Aquaculture Christmas event on Friday night. I off.
Shock.
That's all right. And that's as far as I've got. But I've been getting some calls about the lights, which I have forwarded on. There, like I said, there is concerns about the lighting because of lights being out for so long. Like Little River, they called
I'm getting
because
calls too.
because of the post office. The real concern because it's now all in darkness, and apparently a lot of people go there at night to put their mail in. I don't know.
I haven't heard that one.
So anyway, that was a concern. Is there anything else anyone else has to report on? If not, there is no in camera. So would someone like to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.